now, 3 years after our paper on methane emissions from shale gas development, every measurement, not estimate, not guess, but every actual measurement that's been done around the country on methane emissions from oil and gas operations has shown conclusively that the methane emissions are occurring at a much higher rate than anybody guessed. So the measurements are higher than the guesses. That's bad news. But the news gets doubly bad when we realize that over the last 3 years, scientists have now determined that the impact of those methane emissions is even higher than we thought. So more emissions than we thought, larger impact than we thought. Multiply those together, and the climate problem, the climate change problem, is worse than we thought it was. It is well known by scientists in the oil and gas industry and outside the oil and gas industry that shales, especially shales that are producing oil and gas, have naturally occurring radioactive material in them. Among those naturally occurring radioactive materials is the radioactive gas called radon. Everybody living in the Northeast, especially in Pennsylvania, is familiar with radon. They typically have to do a radon test before they can buy or sell a home. So the industry acknowledges that radon is produced from shale gas. What the regulatory agencies fail to account for is that the amount of radon that's being produced can be highly variable from well to well. And so again, it comes down to risk and consequences of failure. If there is a large amount of radon being released from a certain well, how do we know that unless every well is being tested? So one of the problems with radon is that it transports with the gas. Wherever the methane, natural gas, goes into a pipeline, radon goes with it. Now, like all radioactive materials, the radioactivity decays over time. But the problem here is that Marcellus gas is being produced in the highly populated northeastern part of the United States. So the residence time of the gas in the pipelines is much less than the residence time of gas coming from the Gulf of Mexico or from Texas. By the time that methane gets to the Northeast, to Philadelphia, to Pittsburgh, the decay time is such that the risk from the radioactive radon is much less than natural gas, methane coming out of the Marcellus, which might only be spending a few days in transit before it gets to its end use for somebody cooking in their kitchen.